Good evening and welcome to Cycle. On this program, we will give you the latest news on the economy and political situation in Mongolia. I'm Anarga Batar. In the last 3 weeks, a total of 6,919 trucks and 2,017 wagons of coal crossed the border of Mongolia, which means coal exports have risen by about 60% compared to the 3 weeks in August to September. The government of Mongolia and Ministry of Mining and Heavy Industry have taken rapid actions to establish container terminals at border crossings and state border areas to increase coal export. As a result, so far, a container terminal in Qashun-Sukhat has been built under the public-private partnership and put into operation within 2 months. Transporting containerized coal through the Qashun-Sukhat port has various advantages of increasing coal exports by improving border crossings, preventing the loss of coal quality, as well as reducing its negative impacts on the environment. It is estimated that short-haul coal shipments between the Mongolian and Chinese borders will increase coal export by 8 to 10 million tons per annum. Mongolia is concerned about Rio Tinto's management of the Oyu Tolgoi copper and gold mine in South Gobi Desert. Oyu Tolgoi's underground expansion has been hamstrung by delays, development issues and cost overruns for years. While Rio Tinto blamed the delays and rising costs on challenging ground conditions, an independent review this year contradicted that explanation. Mongolia is concerned about Rio Tinto's management of Oyu Tolgoi copper and gold mine in the Gobi Desert in the southern part of the country. The open pit and underground mining project is being jointly developed by the government, which owns about 34% of Oyu Tolgoi, and Rio Tinto's Canadian subsidiary Turquoise Hill Resources that has a 66% stake in it. The Anglo-Australian miner owns nearly 51% stake in Turquoise Hill Resources. Oyu Tolgoi's underground expansion has been hamstrung by delays, development issues and cost overruns for years. Rio Tinto and Turquoise Hill Resources signed a development and financing plan with Mongolia in 2015 that provided basis for funding the project, but 6 years on, production has yet to begin in a sustainable way. Once the underground expansion are completed, Oyu Tolgoi is expected to produce more than 500,000 tons of copper per year. Initial projections estimated that the mine would be able to sustainably produce copper from 2021 onwards. However, last December, Rio Tinto pushed the timeline back and said sustainable production was expected to commence in October 2022. The miner also said the underground expansion would cost $6.75 billion, higher than previous estimate. On Friday, Rio Tinto again delayed the forecast and said sustainable production will happen no earlier than January 2023. The company cited the impact of COVID-19 and outstanding issues around caving operations. It warned that Mongolia's additional COVID restrictions this year to tackle community transmissions is set to add an estimated $140 million to the budget as of the end of September. While Rio Tinto blamed the delays and rising costs on challenging ground conditions, an independent review this year contradicted that explanation. The independent consulting group's report, commissioned by Rio Tinto's partners on the project, concluded that poor management was the main reason the mine's underground expansion was running almost 2 years late and $1.4 billion over budget, the Financial Times reported. Rio Tinto reportedly challenged the findings of the report in a letter to Mongolia's Justice Minister and said the review did not fully recognize the full impact of weaker than expected conditions that forced the mine to be redesigned. A meeting of the Joint Working Group of GAZPROM and the Government of Mongolia on the implementation of the Memorandum of Understanding regarding the project for the pipeline gas supplies from China to Russia across Mongolia took place on September 22nd in Ulaanbaatar city. The meeting was headed by Vitaly Markelov, Deputy Chairman of the GAZPROM Management Committee, and Samboy Amirsakhan, Deputy Prime Minister of Mongolia. The parties discussed the progress of the feasibility study for the SOYUZ VOSTOK gas pipeline project and heard a briefing of its preliminary results. It was noted that the government of Mongolia has already taken a number of measures to provide the project with state support. These include quotas for the hiring of foreign labor by the GAZPROM SOYUZ VOSTOK special purpose vehicle, as well as the possibilities of using the regulatory frameworks of Russia and GAZPROM during design and construction. In addition, the Mongolian government has made a decision in principle to reserve land plots for the facilities of the gas pipeline. Thus far, Mongolian contractors have completed in due time the required on-site surveys, engineering and environmental mapping, and route analysis for the gas pipeline, including its crossing points with the existing utilities. The meeting participants agreed upon the routing plan proposed by the special purpose vehicle for use during the development of the feasibility study. On December 5, 2019, GAZPROM and the government of Mongolia signed a memorandum of understanding. The document provides for a joint assessment of the feasibility for the project for pipeline gas supplies from Russia to China across Mongolia. In April 2021, the feasibility analysis regarding the construction project for the SOYUZ VOSTOK gas trunk line was approved. The SOYUZ VOSTOK gas pipeline will become an extension of Russia's Power of Siberia 2 gas pipeline in Mongolian territory. In the course of the feasibility analysis, the basic technical and technological parameters of the project were established. These include the optimal route for the gas pipeline in the Mongolian territory, the pipeline's length and diameter, the working pressure, and the number of compressor stations. The feasibility study regarding the construction project for the SOYUZ VOSTOK gas trunk line includes a detailed breakdown of the associated investment and operating costs. The study is being prepared by the GAZPROM SOYUZ VOSTOK special purpose vehicle. The agreement on trade and economic cooperation was signed by Azerbaijani Economy Minister Mikhail Jabarov and Mongolian Foreign Minister Batstik Batmuch on October 21st. The document aims to improve the legal framework for bilateral economic cooperation, expand ties in various economic sectors, including industry, energy, agriculture, trade, investment, transport, transit, and tourism. The agreement also envisages exploring new opportunities for cooperation. On October 21, 2021, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Mongolia, Batstik, met online with the Minister of Economy of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Mikhail Jabarov, and signed an agreement on trade and economic cooperation between the government of Mongolia and the government of the Republic of Azerbaijan. The ministers emphasized that this is a good starting point for the expansion of traditionally friendly relations and cooperation between the two countries in all areas of common interest, especially for the development of trade and economic relations. The agreement provides an opportunity to expand and develop trade and economic relations between the two countries in a long-term and sustainable manner in accordance with domestic law and the principles and norms of international law, and establishes a cooperation mechanism to expand trade and economic relations between the two countries, which will identify new possibilities for further development and eliminate any obstacles that may arise during the implementation of the agreement. Moreover, Azerbaijani Economy Minister Mikhail Jabarov spoke about Azerbaijan's national priorities of socio-economic development of the country until 2030 and invited Mongolian companies to participate in the projects being implemented in Azerbaijan. Jabarov also stressed the importance of expanding ties between businessmen. In turn, Batmuch stressed Mongolia's interest in expanding relations with Azerbaijan and shared views on economic cooperation and development. The parties expressed confidence that the agreement signed today will contribute to strengthening mutual trade and investment relations. The EBRD began its operations 15 years ago in Mongolia with the sponsoring of banks and other financial entities such as Hasbank, Hambank, and Transcapital that became involved in its trade facilitation program. By now, the EBRD has a presence in many sectors of the country's economy. To date, around 190,000 loans totaling more than $535 million have been made available by the lender to Mongolian micro and small firms. In all, the EBRD has invested a total of $2.1 billion in Mongolia during the 15 years. With the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development celebrating 15 years of cooperations in Mongolia, Hannes Takaks, the development bank's Mongolia head, spoke with the BNE in telling news on current projects and plans for the future. For the foreseeable future, the EBRD's goal in the country of 3.4 million people is to invest more in infrastructure and projects to deliver a greener economy. EBRD has worked with local mining companies to integrate sustainability in their operations. Since 2017, Mongolian agribusiness companies have benefited from the bank's initiatives to boost non-extractive industries. Companies that have been backed by the initiative include juice manufacturer Vitafit, beverage producers APU and MCS, food producers Teso Group, and the country's biggest dairy company Sumilk. In 2021, Sumilk, Mongolia's first milk and dairy product producer, received a $4.8 million loan from Hasbank with the aid of the EBRD. Just recently, on October 20th, Mayor of Ulaanbaatar City, Somyawatar, met with Managing Director of Central Asia of the EBRD, Ms. Zuzana Hargitai. During the meeting, the sides noted that they attach great importance to their cooperation and exchange views on possible future joint projects and programs. Emphasizing that Ulaanbaatar city is one of the few cities that joined the bank's Green Cities program, Ms. Zizana Hargitay expressed readiness to work with the capital city on environmentally friendly and green growth projects. In turn, the mayor pledged to support joint projects. The meeting also touched upon collaboration of the two sides in a number of projects and programs to address some pressing issues of the city. Members of the ruling Mongolian People's Party, EBRD and Pachor, who won the by-election by majority votes, took an oath as members of the parliament on October 21st. The rights of candidates EBRD and Pachor as parliament members have come into effect after reading out the oath. On October 18th, Chairman of the General Election Commission Dilir Narang announced that candidates of the ruling Mongolian People's Party, Pachor and EBRD have won by majority votes following the by-election repolling. The Commission convened and approved a resolution acknowledging the victory of candidates in the parliamentary by-election. The resolution has been presented to the Parliament on October 18th. All the votes received through the polls had been hand-counted. As there was low voter turnout in the parliamentary by-election polls that took place on October 10th, it was decided to organize repolling in the two constituencies on October 16th to involve those who did not cast their votes. The final numbers for the voter turnout of the by-election repolling was 48.89% in Songkla district and 46.65% in Hinti province. According to the law in elections, there are no requirements for voter turnout in repolling. Thus, the candidates that received the most votes in the constituencies are considered to have won the election and presented to the state great hurdle. As such, the rights of candidates Pachor and EBRD as parliament members will fully come into effect once the results have been introduced to Parliament and the two candidates have taken their oaths. In 2020, candidate for Mongolian People's Party Somyawatar was elected as a parliament member representing the capital city Songkla district. Somyawatar was dismissed from the legislative position at his own request on October 23, 2020, and he has been serving as a governor of the capital city and mayor of Ulaanbaatar city since October 26, 2020. From the same political party, candidate Hursu Hokhna was also elected as a parliament member. However, he later had a victory in the 2021 presidential election, making it necessary to organize a by-election to fill the office that became vacant. At a regular cabinet meeting on October 20th, Minister of Energy Taewon Bich introduced the progress of the construction project for Ulaanbaatar's fifth thermal power plant, which planned to be established based on the infrastructure of the third thermal power plant. As project implementing bodies, Thermal Power Plant 3 Joint Stock Company of Mongolia and Interregio Export Company of Russia signed a memorandum of cooperation and reached an agreement on the volume of works to be carried out by both sides. Furthermore, the Russian company has agreed to submit a feasibility study of the project in 180 days. Based on the study, the matter concerning export loans from the government of Russia is planned to be introduced by the first quarter of the coming year. Despite its best location and being one of the main sources for heat supply in Ulaanbaatar city, the operations of the third thermal plant are currently facing a state of risk due to its outdated core equipment. The Central Bank of Mongolia considered as the economy is expected to have a 5.9% growth next year, which will be mainly due to the post-pandemic recovery of non-mining sector. It is also stated in the draft basic guidelines for 2022 state monetary policy that direct foreign investment and export earnings will support internal circulation, highlighted Governor of the Bank of Mongolia Thaugsurung at a meeting with the press on October 18th. The government has obliged the central bank to implement fiscal and monetary policies aimed at supporting the economic recovery and increasing access to growth to overcome the difficulties posed by the pandemic. In this regard, the Bank of Mongolia states that it will pursue a policy to support public-private partnerships and keep implementing a medium-term monetary policy to stabilize the consumer price inflation at 6% in an interval. Stabilizing inflation at a low level will not only protect people's real incomes and assets from devaluation, create conditions for the stability of the banking and financial system, but also support long-term investment and sustainable economic growth. The demand-driven growth in prices is expected to increase gradually as the quarantine regime is being eased, policies to mitigate the impact of the pandemic are continually implemented, and the economy is recovering. Director General of the Monetary Policy Department of the Bank of Mongolia, Pairtawa, said that the credit growth will be stabilized at 15 to 20% to ensure medium-term stability. He told that the average rate of inflation rising due to the short-term, temporary or one-time supply factors caused by the external and internal markets is expected to be 6.9% in the fourth quarter of the next year. As a result of the economic recovery of the country and abroad, Mongolia's total balance of payments is expected to have a surplus of more than $200 million in 2022. Although the domestic economic recovery is increasing imports, the global economic recovery is expected to influence favorably on Mongolia's export prices. The central bank states that within the 10 trillion economic recovery plan, it will continue overseeing the implementation of loan issuance and other projects that support the creation of jobs, agricultural sector, repo financing and other project activities, as well as work closely with the government. The Mongolian economy fell sharply in 2020. Consumption and income indicators were negative, real household incomes and consumption have declined, and high level of consumer credit have not recovered. Although statistics show that household incomes are recovering, real household income remains uncertain. Exports and imports have been hampered, meat supply has been disrupted, and fuel prices have risen sharply, leading to inflation. As a result, meat, fuel, and solid fuels account for half of inflation. The latest survey presented by the National Statistics Office has shown that the consumer goods price has risen by 2.1% from the previous month. The National Statistics Office has released a survey on the prices of consumer goods and gasoline sold in the capital city and in the provinces. As of October 20th, prices of Ulaanbaatar's main commodities increased by 2.1% from the previous month and decreased by 0.3% from the previous week. In the rural areas, prices of key commodities increased by 0.6% from the previous week. For example, the price of vegetables and eggs increased in the capital city, while the price of meat decreased. Prices for gasoline, flour, rice, bread, and bakery products are stable. According to the NCO, the price of flour, rice, meat, milk, dairy products, and vegetables, as well as gasoline, have increased by 0.1 to 3.2%. Due to the closure of the border, there is a shortage of stocks of some goods and prices are rising. This will be overseen by the Office for Fair Competition and Consumer Protection. However, the National Statistics Office conducts the survey on a monthly basis, and it is not possible to assess whether traders have inflated prices due to the resource shortages. Well, that's all for Cycle. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.